Welcome to another episode.
Next episode
of the Thought Exchange Cafe.
Greetings. My name is Tony Davis, and I am your host, coming to you from the Thought Exchange Cafe podcast, where we bring you motivational, inspirational, educational content that may help you in your everyday life navigating these rough seas of life. But also, we bring you information and content that may help you to eliminate some of your fears through our own life experiences. And as someone said to me just the other day, they said, in order to become wise, you have to talk to someone who's older and wiser. Let that sink in for a minute. Today, I want to talk a little bit about continuing education. Have you ever felt like when you left school, especially the Boston public schools, when you left school, the things that you learned, that you could not apply those things in real life because they did not even apply to real life? You were being taught things like Christopher Columbus and these folks that have nothing to do with you. You were being taught these past so-called leaders and founders. And in all actuality, what did they lead and who did they lead and what did they really find? And this information is information that you can utilize today to get a job, to better yourself? Or is it just information, right, to just fill your mind? And not just to fill your mind, but to send you in a spiral because nothing that you was taught is teaching you to elevate to that next level. And that's why today's subject is on continuing education. A little bit about me. I attended the Boston Public Schools. And in the Boston Public Schools, they would send letters home to my mother saying that I needed special education, that I needed to be in a special class because I wasn't picking up the material. But I can remember getting the answer right faster than how they had gave me they said, here's the map. Follow this map and you're going to get to the answer. But I couldn't follow the map because the map was very, very vague. So I figured out in my own mind how to answer the question, and I answered the question, but I was still wrong. And as a little boy growing up in the inner city, that was very discouraging because I enjoyed school. I enjoyed the learning process as a little boy. Because I grew up in Jamaica Plain Projects. I had a period of growing up there. And growing up in Jamaica Plain Projects, as we know, it's called a project for a reason and a purpose. Their project was to see how human rats can cohabitate. And what I mean by human rats, think about the projects. Think about how they built the projects. On top of each other, you had no space for your personal space. You had no space to breathe. And the rooms were so close and so cluttered, how could you breathe? Part of the point I'm trying to make here is that even the Boston Public Schools were a project. Because let's think about where these Boston Public Schools were located. They were mostly located in the inner city. And a lot of the educators, or the so-called educators, where were they coming from? They were coming from the outskirts into the city to teach someone that they couldn't even resonate with, someone that they couldn't even identify with. So what happened? In actuality, it became just a job for them. We were paychecks. That's all we were. We became just something to do. And now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure there was some out there who really cared about the kids and how they taught them. Because for one, I had a teacher. Her name was Mrs. Roach, the Mary E. Curley School. She could see that as a young boy that I was going through something because I would isolate. I would sit by myself. And part of that was being bullied going to school and from school. And she took her time to come over to me and to sit with me, but not just sit with me. She knew that thing about the reward system. If I reward you, if there's a reward, you're going to do your best to get that reward. And she came over to me and she said, Tony, if you focus and you do your homework, I'm going to give you something every week. And she gave me this bouquet of lollipops that looked like a bouquet of roses. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, especially at that age. And I remember very well, she had the cat lady glasses on, the long blonde hair. And needless to say that, right, the point I'm trying to make here is this, is that she knew that if she gave me something to look forward to, that I was going to apply myself. And that's exactly what I did. And she did what she said that she was going to do every week. And when I did my homework, I did my assignment, she gave me a little something. And I know it wasn't just me, the only person in the classroom that she was doing that to, but for me, it was very special for me. Now I want to get back to this continuing education. The reason why I'm going to talk about continuing education is because of this, because there are some that barely make it through high school. And once they make it through high school, that's it for them. That's it for them. They won't never pick up a book. They don't want to pick up a book. They don't want to study nothing. So, and right now, when we look at society today, and I'm not just talking about society in a wide range, I'm talking about in our cities. I'm talking about our young folks. I'm talking about some of those young folks right now. There's some who have truly took the initiative to follow the narrow road and not the wide road. And they said to themselves, they made a commitment to themselves that they were not going to follow those who are not going anywhere. They made a commitment. And I would like to commend the mothers, the fathers, who have taken the time to truly invest in their children going to the Boston Public Schools. They took the time to let them know that I see you, I acknowledge you. And we need more of that today. We need to acknowledge our young folks today, but we also need to continue to encourage continuing education. Yes, it's good to look good. It's good to go and spend $150, $200 on a pair of Jordans or a nice outfit. But let me tell you about what your counterpart's doing. Your counterpart is taking that $150, $200 and investing it into a program, investing it into some self-education. Because see, when you go to a Boston Public School, they're only required to give you a standard education. The minimum. That is it. Now, there's a saying that says, when you get a standard education, it's going to lead to a standard life, a standard way of living. But self-education is going to make you rich. And when I say rich, I mean knowledge rich. Think about this for a moment. Picture this. We're in a world now where information is abundant. Information. You have good information that can help you excel, but you also have that negative information that's going to bring you down and program your mind not to see, but to make you like a horse with blinders on, one way. You have to use your peripheral vision and keep your head on a swivel today. That's the only way you're going to excel. But you also have to continue to educate yourself. You have to educate yourself financially. You have to educate yourself politically. You have to educate yourself socially. Because, see, it's those three things that dictate a person's destiny. And by not knowing them, you're in drift. And what is drift? You're like a leaf that fell off of the tree branch and being blown by the wind. And what is being blown by the wind? All the societal norms that they say are normal. Yeah, it's okay. Go ahead. Smoke your brains out. Smoke like a broke stove. Smoke like you need the fire department to come and put it out. But think about this. There's a way of doing things, and it's okay to smoke. It's okay. But one thing I want to put out there that might be off subject is this. There's a reason and a purpose why they legalize marijuana, and they selling it to you from out of a dispensary where you can't see, and it has 1,001 flavors. I remember because I smoked marijuana, and when I smoked marijuana, yes, it was a long time ago. We got it in a little brown bag. However, it wasn't something that was needed morning, noon, and night, and in between time, and you wasn't right without it. How do you educate yourself? How can you educate yourself when your mind is already preoccupied with other things, right? And as they say, if your space is cluttered, how do you expect to put anything else in it? I urge you to begin to clean your space, because less is more. And when I mean less is more, garbage out, organic foods in. When you eat better, you think better, you act better, and you grow. And not just you just grow, but people gravitate to you. And they gravitate to you by the words that come out your mouth. They gravitate to you by your intellect. Because your intellect, right? Your intellect tells about your character. And see, they don't teach intellect anymore. They don't teach critical thinking anymore. They don't teach about character anymore. They'll ask you for a character reference, yes. But they're not going to teach you these things anymore. They're not. And why they're not going to teach you? Because they know that if they teach you to excel, then you will become abundant and you will be uncontrollable. Take a look around for a minute and take a look at some of the folks that you see, right? That are in this spiral, in this loop, doing the same thing in and out every day. And then there are some that are on that same corner. They've been there for years. And that's the only place they know is that corner. That corner is like, it's unconscious to them. They may want to go a different direction, but the body's saying, no, we're going here. You see? Because the mind has been programmed to do that. And when the mind becomes programmed, each thought, each feeling brings about an emotional cocktail. It brings about something that's either going to rise you up or bring you down. The point I'm making here is this, is that You have to begin to truly re-educate yourself. But not just re-educate yourself, but continuing education. Because things have changed drastically for you and for me. And going back to the counterparts, talking about them, they don't spend their money on things that are temporary. They spend their money on things that's going to be lasting. They'll take their $150 and go and take a course and get a certificate. And that certificate, that $150, is going to garner them $150,000. Ask me how I know. I got a GED because I quit school. I just couldn't do it. Because no matter how much I'd done, it was still wrong. But when I got my GED, I was able to attend college. I attended Mount Wachusett Community College first, then Framingham State, and came back and did Roxbury Community College. I didn't finish neither one. And there was a certain feeling that was going through me like, Tony, there's something greater. You have to stay focused. And then I remember my cousin saying to me, he said, a little focus goes a long way. And I thought about it. And I went to Wentworth and I finished. After Wentworth, a few years later, I went to MIT and I got my certification. What I'm saying to you is this: do not allow yourself to get discouraged. And if you are discouraged, it's okay. Turn it around. Because maybe there was something that was said to you back then that you held on to. There was a feeling or an emotion. There was maybe some guilt or some shame that you didn't complete what you started. It's okay. You may have not completed it then, but trust this. Get back on your bike and ride. You might not have the balance right now, but you'll get the balance, but you have to stay consistent with it. Today, I own and operate a small construction company, which is mine. I belong to a prestigious board here in our community at one of our community centers. I teach public speaking and emotional intelligence. I'm the host here at the Thought Exchange Cafe. There's some things that I didn't think that I could do. I didn't think that I could sit here and deliver a message. I didn't think that I could own a construction company and actually have clients and be able to live. I may not have all those things that I desire, but I have everything that I need. I'm urging you, if you begin to re-educate yourself, you ain't got to stay in that box. No, you do not. Don't be afraid to take that first step. Don't be afraid to spend. No, I'm not going to say spend because it's an investment. Invest in you because that's the greatest investment. You are the greatest investment. And there's a saying that says, when you begin to invest in yourself more than you invest in your job. Because yes, there's some of us that come home or some of you that come home and you're too tired because you just put out so much energy during the course of the day. Let me fill you in on something if you don't know this already. A lot of people are paying you to buy their time back. And what I'm urging you to do, even while you're at work, invest in you. Invest in you. Because maybe that job is just a stepping stone for you to take the risk. Okay? Because what I learned is when I was playing it safe, I wasn't growing. I was not able to stretch myself because I was playing it safe. I was afraid to spend because I only had a little bit of money, not knowing that if I went ahead and I invested that little bit of money and whatever came back from it, save it in intellect and allow it to become compound interest. Every time I go to my knowledge bank, I'm going to have more. And when I open up my mouth, people are going to say, oh, okay, he's different. Yes, I am different. Because I decided to follow a different path. I decided to do what? I decided to stay into continuing education. And that's why they have continuing education for nurses, doctors, lawyers, construction supervisors as myself, and a few other things. Because see, that continuing education is going to help you to really be able to build a better foundation. And not the foundation for someone else to live in, but the foundation for you to live in. I want to say to my young folk out there, it's okay to want to look good today. But you got to stop thinking about tomorrow because you're not going to be young forever. You might think that you have all the time in the world. But guess what? You can go home, cut the light off, get in your bed and go to sleep and wake up the next morning. And it's 20 years later. And you're wondering, where did the time go? And I'm talking to you from experience. The best way we learn from those who've already been through some things. Because right now, social media is running rampant. And social media is our children's new teacher. Social media is your new teacher. But you have to think about this for a moment. Think about this. Have you asked yourself the question? When you follow a certain way that is put out there, or urge for you to do, who's benefiting? You or them? Take the time and begin to invest in yourself now. So later on down the line, you will have a financial abundance, something that you can fall back on, where you don't have to work from paycheck to paycheck to paycheck, as many of us are still doing today. And there's no shame in that. But when you know better, you can do better. And I'm talking to my young folks right now. And the reason why I'm sending this message to my young folk is because you're the ones you got to take up the torch. Because if you don't take up the torch, you're going to always be following someone else's trail. You're going to always be following someone else's lead. And guess what? You're going to be making their dream come true and not yours, because they're going to dilute your dream, right? And make theirs that much bigger. In closing, I want to urge you to invest in yourself more. Invest in some self-education. We have to begin to see what tomorrow is going to look like by investing in ourselves today. And investing in ourselves today, we put something in the bank. And I'm not talking about money in the bank, because the bank's right now only giving you 0.0 something percent, right? Which is nothing. But when you invest in yourself, you're always going to be rich. And last but not least, don't give out of your full cup. Give of that which runneth over. Because if you give out of your full cup and when it becomes empty, you're going to be by yourself. But when you give from what runneth over, you're going to continuously have. And why? That's something God loves. God loves when you give. Because see, if you get what I get when I give, you just might understand. So until I see you again, my name is Tony Davis, coming to you from the Thought Exchange Cafe podcast. And once again, we bring you educational, motivational, inspirational content, as well as some information that may eliminate some of your fears. And there's some of your own fears that you have to face yourself. FEAR, false evidence appearing real. Until I see you again, take care. May God continue to hold you, keep you, and be blessed and stay safe. Take care.